Hey everyone, welcome to day 4 of the Love What You See in the Mirror free challenge. Hi, how you doing? How are you liking the challenge so far? Leave me a comment, let me know what you think of it. Seems like our lighting's a little better today. I seem to have eyebrows. I don't know what determines it. I think it's actually like if there's less ambient lighting, then these overhead ones are brighter. It's sunny out. Not that you guys necessarily care, but I just think it's weird. It looks like super Casper the Ghost last night. But anyways, day 4. So far, if you recall, or if you didn't see the videos yet, so on Monday, the topic was exercise, movement, the messages we give to ourselves during not just exercise, but all self-care practices. And is it like, oh my gosh, I'm so ugly, I better put on makeup to make myself presentable? Or is it, makeup is more of like art, something you enjoy, but that you don't feel like you need to be beautiful. And then day 2, we talked about nutrition. And again, if we try to eat healthy, like there's such a thing as, it's called orthorexia, which is like being too uptight and rigid about what you put in your body to the point that like, you disconnect emotionally from the people around you, right? Like you cannot go to a restaurant and enjoy food with friends. Like eating off your diet will make you go like insane with regret. And you can't just relax and enjoy a treat sometimes. So that's like really not a healthy attitude. Even if physically you're healthy, emotionally that's kind of torture, right? But it's a very different attitude from eating healthy the majority of the time. And maybe, to someone outside, it might still look pretty rigid, but if there's like, nothing around, you came on, like say your car broke down, so you didn't bring your healthy snacks because you weren't expecting. And, like a healthier attitude is like, okay, there's like, Taco Bell right here and I'm going to get it this once and it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not saying eat it every day, but you can basically just do that once in a while without it feeling like the end of the world. I think that's an example. So hopefully that makes sense. But overall, the motivation for healthy behaviors matters as much as the behaviors themselves. That's really kind of the point of this whole week. And then yesterday, we started to dive into how to shift that mindset, right? Because you can't just change it overnight. So go back and watch that video. I had some tips for you, and I feel like it got a little dark. Maybe I'm just not that comfortable yet being direct, but it was a tough love video, and I basically kind of went there with like the things I the things I hear from my clients like over and over. And people basically saying that they don't think they can change. And so that's why I felt the tough love is necessary. It's like, let's nip that in the bud before you even say it to me, because I know that change is possible. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I have seen it with some of my clients. I know that you can do it. So don't waste any more time telling yourself that you can't. That's really where it's coming from. Like there's a better way to live, and it is accessible to you. So that's the challenge so far. Hi to whoever just jumped on. I can't see who that is. Leave me a comment. Oh, hey, Randy. Good to see you. Okay, so today's topic is actually all about community support. And it doesn't sound that sexy, right? And for those of you who have been in my challenges before, this is not necessarily new information, but I present it in hopefully a different way every time. And I'll be sharing with you guys a little bit like more recent stories, new material. So it's not just the same old. So even if you think you've heard this before, hang around, you might hear something new. But in the context of really reframing your mindset to love what you see in the mirror, having a group that's oriented around that is really important, I think. And so just a reminder, I told you guys yesterday about the Body Love Bootcamp program that I designed just for you guys to go along with this challenge. So again, like take the free information, enjoy the group setting here, but there is like a more active, targeted group coming up working on these issues that is not free, but if you want to go deeper and work on this more together with me and with a group. And so 3 reasons why group support can help with this. So first, I think that particularly for certain personality types, it really, really is helpful to have that accountability. Now, I'm just reading a book called The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, and if any of you guys are in my personal growth book club, that discussion is just about to start. If you are not in it and you want to be, I think you can search it on Facebook. It'll probably come up, but let me know and I can add you if you can't find it. It's called Personal Growth Book Club, and I'm one of the admins. You should be able to find it. But so this book is all about how different people are motivated in different ways to pursue goals. And it really all comes down to some people are better at meeting a goal, like an expectation, if it's set by someone other than you, right? Like if you're someone who, I think it maybe goes back to, you know, getting good grades in school and like kind of being a teacher's pet. At least that's how it was for me. Like that was like, that's my personality, that I got good grades. I got like 100% on every test. And I wanted like the rest of my life to be like that because I was praised for that as a kid and I was good at it. But I had a lot more trouble like setting a goal on my own. Now there's some people who kind of reject external goals and are like, well, I'm not going to do it just because you said I should, right? And then maybe you're better at setting goals internally where you just decide, I want to do this, and you do it, and you don't have any problem executing on that. Okay? And then, and there are names for each of these, but I don't want to get into like bogged down in the terminology. So then there's some people who are good at meeting like both kinds of expectations, internal, external. So those people are really good at changing their habits. It doesn't really matter where it comes from, but then sometimes they're like doing it just for the sake of doing it without really thinking about why and if that's a good strategy for them. And then the last type is rebels, who kind of rebel against both types of goals and just, they really have this rebellious streak inside them. So the book is all about how to like motivate yourself, motivate others, depending on your natural tendency. But I think group support is especially good for people who respond well to that external motivation. And that's kind of what got me hooked into Beachbody and into coaching in the first place, that I found I could declare this goal that, okay, I want to give up sugar for 30 days. That was my first group. That was how I came in. It was a free group. And I did it. Like I had never done that. I had never thought I could do it. And I had tried so many times, you know, I had tried and failed, where I decided myself, okay, I'm going to give up sugar. And I probably didn't tell anybody. And so I did it for like a day or two, and then I would just get too tempted and I would drop it, and, you know, over and over. It was a cycle. So then here comes this Facebook group, and that was like exactly what I needed. Everyone was posting every day. Like I made it another day without sugar. And I like was so kind of, I had too much pride to I didn't want to go in there and say, guys, I broke down and ate a candy bar. So I made it all 30 days. And that was how I really saw the power of external motivation for someone who it's called the obliger, the person who responds to external goals, but not internal. And so I think that's really, you know, the community support has value, I think, for all the types in different ways, but especially if you're like me, having like declaring the goal publicly, and having people hold you accountable basically can help you engage in self-care, when normally you just might have a hard time with that, because no one's going to know if you don't do it, right? No one except you. I mean, maybe people will know if you're like super grouchy because you're not getting enough sleep and taking your quiet time and whatever else you need, but nobody's going to see it if you don't set aside time to do those things. So that's the real value of group support, I think. Another reason it's been really valuable for me is it really has helped me get past having shame around some of these things. And I've told you guys in here, like just this week, things that I never thought I would tell anybody. And I mean, I talk pretty frequently about how I used to binge eat. And at one time, I never thought I would tell anybody that either. It's not that embarrassing to me anymore, but at one time it really was. But that's something that's super common. I know that now. There's certain episodes that I think are more embarrassing than others. I told the story before about how the day that I found out that my dad has type 2 diabetes, I just couldn't cope. I was doing pretty well with not binging for a while, and I ended up sitting on the floor of a bus station, scarfing down candy. But those are the moments where you feel so low in those moments that you just feel you feel like you're doing something wrong, and you feel like people are going to judge you if you ever tell anybody. And so as I've started putting this out there more, I've realized that, those are common experiences and common emotions, and there's real power when we connect with each other and we realize I'm not the only one who's done that. And that's how you eventually are able to stop. That's part of it. When you realize you don't have to be ashamed, it's something you can talk about. It doesn't make you a horrible person. It doesn't make you a failure. It's one part of a complex person that you are, and you have a lot of wonderful qualities. And, maybe one of those is sensitivity, and that's why you're turning to food for emotional reasons. So, it's a process of normalizing it, not in the sense of we're all going to feed off each other's disordered behavior. And I think there are Facebook groups that are like that, so beware of that. But this is more just shining light on it and sharing common struggles, and also sharing what is helping us. I just can't even tell you, though, how powerful it is just to know that you're not alone. I've seen it also with over on Instagram. People are really open about infertility, and most of the accounts are actually anonymous, they don't show their face. So that's a little bit of what makes them more brave. I think on Facebook, people have their real name on it usually. But for some reason, it's still a taboo to some degree, that people just don't want to talk about it, or, it's kind of all consuming. And friends who aren't going through it get kind of sick of hearing about it. And I understand that too. Not everyone wants to hear about all the shots that you're giving yourself and all that stuff, but it's painful, and the timing is tough to figure out, and it's expensive, and it just kind of takes over your life when you're going through it, right? But so the community on Instagram has been so helpful for me to connect with people who are going through the same thing, and realize that it's not something I have to go through on my own. So that's why the group support is a really big part of this program that I designed specifically to work together for a year on really cultivating self-love and body love, body acceptance. Okay. And then the other reason is that it's just fun. I think that some of you who are in here who've been part of my programs, or even in this group, you've met new friends that you've stayed in touch with. Being exposed to new ideas too, this is a big one. Group support has been really crucial for the growth of my business recently. And just to give another example of how this works with my personality type, again, the obliger, who likes to please other people and doesn't really, not so good at self-care just on your own. So we get tons of training just included with Beachbody, just by virtue of being coaches, and it's wonderful. People are so willing to share. There's so much that you can pick up. And I've learned everything I know about social media marketing, coaching pretty much. I knew some of that coming in, but how to be an effective coach. I've learned it through the Coach Network, and people are just very generous with their time and their knowledge. And I love to learn. So I soaked up as much as I could, but, I've kind of had trouble at times implementing. So I started working with a business mentor, business coach, who I pay over the last, I've been working with a couple coaches over the last year, but 2 months ago I started working with someone new who's helping me a lot, I think, by putting structure around just daily tasks, activities, behaviors in my business, because there's so many things you can try. Like, I watch one video and be like, oh, that sounds interesting, let me try that. And it was like this thing over here, then this and this, and there was no real like harmony. There was no rhyme or reason to it, and I was kind of all over the place. So to have somebody just put that structure around it for me, like, it wasn't a system that I would have put together, but he's tested it with a lot of people. It's worked well. It's working well for me, and I'm finding it really helpful. So I think, you know, a lot of people question, like, you have all these resources available for free. Why would you pay a business coach? But for me, it's been really helpful, just like that exposure to like a different way of doing things that I wouldn't have thought of myself. So hopefully you guys have experienced some of that this week, even in this group, just with kind of the exercises that I've given you in the journal and the questions that I have asked you in the daily discussion prompts. So don't miss out on those. It's a photo, it's the same photo, but it'll say day 3, day 4, day 5, also day 1 and 2. If you answer those questions, that constitutes participating in the challenge, so you'll get a prize in the mail from me as a thank you, and you've also got to be subscribed to the email list for the challenge, which I think you want to do anyway, because that's how you get the journal. But there's 2 more emails left, and the link to the journal is in every message, so you can still get it tomorrow or the next day. Actually, sorry, the last one's going to go out on the 8th, okay? And I'll tell you why in a minute. But so you got to sign up for the emails by the 8th. The deadline to participate in the challenge is Sunday the 12th. Okay, that's when I'm closing everything and taking the videos down. And that's also when the special offer ends for the Body Love Bootcamp. So just as a reminder, I went through this all yesterday in more detail, so you can check out the day 3 video for more information. There's also a link to a webpage where you can check it all out. It's going to be in the comments after this. But this package that I put together really to line up with this free challenge, if you want to take it further for the next year, you'll get access to the same workout video library that, I mean, I use it every day, I represent it, but it has every style of workout. And the idea is that if you're someone who's been exercising more in a punishing type of way, like monitoring calories, really, you know, not that there's anything wrong with trying to lose weight, but if it's this like, if it's this really like self-critical attitude of it, I would suggest for you to try a different type of activity, because it's really hard to change your thinking when you're literally going through the same motions with your body. But there's a lot to choose from in there. There'll be a questionnaire we'll go through to help you decide. Same thing with the nutrition plan. I have an intake questionnaire, and we will work together just to see what your starting point is, and I'll make some recommendations nutritionally for what to work on. But again, mindset is a huge part of it, and all of the posts in, you know, like the daily content you're getting in the support group is going to relate to that, just daily and weekly exercises, similar things to what you're seeing in here, but not the same, taking it deeper, just depending on how things proceed, what people in the group need, what people want to work on, what I'm noticing. You do get a 1-month supply of Shakeology along with this, and there's no obligation to continue. If you like it, you can keep going with it. The support group is the entire topic of today's video. But so that's for the full year. And then you also get one-on-one support from me. You can ask me anything you want in Messenger, like the things that are more private than what you want to share in the group. Obviously, you can ask questions, you can share insights, but we'll be able to talk more in both the support group and more privately in Messenger, or you can email me too if you don't want to use Messenger. And then the bonuses, I'm really excited about these. So I have a PDF food and feelings journal. So if emotional eating is something you're working on, it's going to help you unravel those patterns. You also get to choose a book. And I went again through these. I don't want to make this too long, but you get to choose from 2 books by Geneen Roth, which are, one is When Food is Love. And these are just some of my favorite books about, well, that one's about emotional eating. The other choice is one that's more about acceptance, self-love, and really like finding contentment in the present moment. And I just love it because like she's been an author for, I don't know, like 30 years or more, like the span of the publication dates of her books. And I've just loved watching her kind of, and how she's evolved. And, you know, definitely later in life, I think she's in her 60s now. She may even be 70, I'm not sure. But like just this kind of like coming to peace after she's been in recovery from her eating disorder, but like kind of having these patterns, like you kind of beat one problem and then a similar problem manifests in a different area of life, and like watching her kind of tackle each one. But so those are the 2 books. She's written more books than that, but those are 2 that I think are really relevant to this topic that we're discussing this week. And then the third choice is it's called Becoming Enough by Amanda Johnson. If you're in the Personal Growth Book Club, we just finished discussing it, and that one also is all about basically accepting yourself as perfect, flaws and all, and kind of redefining perfection. But, you know, different take on things. It doesn't have the emotional eating lens that Geneen Roth brings, but that one is exciting because we're also doing a live like basically I'm going to interview Amanda kind of like a podcast, but it'll be on video, and that is on August 9th. So if you enroll in the Body Love Bootcamp by August 8th, you can be on the call live with us. Otherwise, you'll get the recording. And then lastly, as a special deal for everyone who's part of this challenge, you receive $20 off of the regular price of $160, which I think is a very low price for a full year, but you'll get it for $140. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you want to work on these issues together. The deadline for that is August 12th, and I really would encourage you to get in before the deadline. Reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm going to be back tomorrow with the final video, which is going to be about one specific mindset habit that I've been working on a lot lately. That's just been really transformative. So make sure you join me for that. And then I missed one thing I wanted to say, which is basically, so going back to the point about shame and kind of the power of the group to normalize these experiences that we're having, these feelings that we're having. When I look back, like the times that well, there have been like long periods when I was basically sedentary and like I started to have back problems. I mean, if you can believe it, see me now, that may not seem feasible, but my life was really different at certain times. There have been times in my life, like I really had some trouble with alcohol for a while. Like I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic, but I was definitely overdoing it. And I think when I look back at that, I felt really isolated. And that was what I saw in a lot of your comments too, when I was asking, kind of doing a little research for this challenge. I put up a thread in the group, but that, you know, when you are feeling down about the way you look, some of what you guys were describing was during times of isolation. And I think that kind of feeling cut off from other people, there are emotions that go along with that. And so by taking action and connecting to other people, like it might not seem like, well, why am I going to like suddenly think that I look great, you know, and feel great about the way you know, my appearance just by connection, but acceptance of other people and that emotional connection is very, very powerful. And it has the power, again, to make us feel not so alone and to feel accepted and loved and worthy and all of those things. So, you know, isolation and denial kind of go hand in hand is what I'm trying to say. So We may not get rid of our self-destructive habits overnight and our self-destructive thought patterns, but just being with a group where we're talking about them and we are observing them, I think is really just powerful. It's like the first step for just setting a foundation for making those changes. So let me know, guys, if you have any questions, if you have experienced the transformative power of group support for yourself. I would love to know if you've seen this in your own life, how. And well, there's going to be a discussion thread. Let me look real quick at the journal prompts because I didn't read those to you yet. Oh yeah. Okay. So this is a communication exercise that I really love to use. But it's just about the people around you in your life and whether they basically build you up or drag you down. That's kind of like, I feel like that's a cold way to say it. But, you know, we all, I think, have had that experience of having a friend and we realize this person really doesn't have my best interests in mind. And maybe we end the friendship, or maybe we say something to the person about their behavior if, you know, we want to continue the friendship. But then, you know, there are relationships, family relationships usually, where we don't have that option to just not be around the person. And even though it's difficult, communicating about how someone else's behavior affects you, like sometimes they just have no idea. People are not cruel for no reason. They're cruel because they have something going on in their own life that's making them unhappy. And so I think in most cases, you know, at least to some degree, they don't want to hurt you and they would feel bad knowing they're hurting you. And so if we don't say anything, we're kind of, you know, not to blame the victim, but like we have a choice. We have an option. There's something we can do about it. So you can strengthen your own support system by communicating about the ways that maybe people aren't as supportive as they could be. And it can be really scary, especially if you're someone who avoids difficult conversations, and that's my natural tendency. But so that's the exercise in the journal today. And that's also going to be one of the questions in the discussion thread, which I'm going to post right after this. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.